Hello everybody, this is a Hall of Fame film from the Lighthouse European server. It's Akao into the Hall, this time not in his 2801, but in his Luchs. There are 6 lights on each team. It's a tier 4 battle, no artillery. Good mix of tanks on both teams. His team has a few more mediums, so they're going to be a little bit more mobile. But generally at this tier you have people kind of running all running all over anyway. So a good player can be extremely effective by being aggressive but cautious at the same time and take advantage of some of the mistakes other people are making. He's pulling up in the middle. I doubt he's going to just make a run up the road. He's going to come up here and spot. Looks like the Panzer 1C is coming with him. So he pulls into this bush. This is a cool bush as long as somebody doesn't go into over here or they come up the middle road, but with the PZ-1C in front of him, he's somewhat protected from that possibility.
Enemy armor is hit. Penetration. Enemy is hit.
Because he's shooting at distance and has the luxury of time, he is trying to let his gun aim back in before the burst on his clip instead of just pressing the button and unloading everything at once. Increases his accuracy, gets a few more rounds on target. Oh man, he rammed them and took them both out. That was kind of stupid. I guess he figured he was dying, so he may as well make sure he took the guy with him. Now right now his team's concentrating on the middle. They aren't playing too much to the flanks, and that could be a problem. He's going to have to watch the sides of the map and see how the battle's changing. The enemy looks is sitting still. He's going to pay the price.
Armor is hit. Enemy armor is damaged. Penetration.
And again, you saw, because he had the luxury of time and he was in a fairly safe position, instead of just dumping his clip by mashing the button one time, he paused between bursts and let his gun aim back in, so he put more rounds on target. Now he's getting in a position where he's probably just going to dump a whole clip at once, because he can't stay out there exposed to enemy fire when he fires. So he gets a kill on the T-40. There's a couple more targets up here. If you're watching the map, you notice that the defenders on the east flank have fallen. And there are tanks starting to move in from the north, so he's going to have to pay attention to what's happening on the north now as well. Otherwise, he's going to end up becoming encircled here in a little bit. Continuing to advance with the Valentine behind him and the Matilda farther back, providing fire support. But there's a lot of tanks left up here.
Enemy armor is damaged. Enemy is hit.
And they're starting to put a lot of pressure on the north behind him, and if he stays here, he's going to end up surrounded. He's going to end up in a position where no matter where he goes, he's going to get shot at from some angle or another, so he has to back out of here, which he's doing. Using the rocks to shield his movement. And I think he's decided, I just need to get to the north to where they can't get me caught in a crossfire. Which is a smart decision, because if he stayed down south like that, he was going to get chewed up.
Target acquired. Penetration. Enemy is hit. Where'd they go?
He keeps almost getting kills. He's doing a lot of damage, but he needs a couple more rounds in his clip to get the kill, and then he leaves somebody badly wounded and somebody else picks him off, which isn't really bad. I mean, you want the tanks out of the fight. It really doesn't matter who ends up getting the kill shot as long as they're dead. Down to 3 tanks against 5. He really wants to go to the south, but I think he realizes that it's not the time to do it. The enemy bigger tanks are here to the north, and that's what he's going to have to deal with. So he gets to see where both heavies are, which helps out a lot. If he can take on this guy one-on-one, he'll beat him because of his superior agility. He'll be able to move in close or just outshoot him from range.
Target lost. Target acquired.
And there he goes.
Destroyed.
Now there's still somebody on cap, and here comes the light. I don't think the light knew that he was reloading, or he would have stayed up there and kept shooting him. The Matilda's trying to cap, which is it helps out Akao's team, because right now there's 4 enemy tanks and 3 allied tanks, but when you have somebody sitting there capping, you're effectively turning this into a 3-on-3 and evening up the odds. So if the Matilda was smart, he would come over here and double team Akao, but he's not doing it.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
I'm a real big proponent of capping when it makes sense, but you see battle after battle after battle, especially in encounter mode, where one team will get a 3 or 4 tank lead, and then 4 or 5 of them start capping and completely tilt the odds in the favor of the enemy team because they're removing their guns from the fight. You have to know when to cap and when not to, and the Matilda's making a huge mistake by capping. Akao can come in and reset him anytime he wants to. And Matilda doesn't realize that.
Penetration. 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 Target released.
He was able to fire at the 95 without any fear of getting shot back, and now he's just going to move in and take the guy out. And then guess what happens? The Matilda's going to find himself 1-on-2, when just a minute ago he could have been 2-on-1 and taken Akao out of the fight. He doesn't recognize the opportunity to do it, and he's going to find himself on the receiving end of it, because I guarantee you, with this Type 95 gone, Akao knows he has a 2-on-1 now. And as he approaches, he knows that the Matilda's facing that T-95, and he's on the back side of the setup, so that tank that the Matilda's using as a shield isn't going to protect him from Akao, and the guy's going to die right now. Fight over. Excellent play by Akao, and failure to recognize opportunity when it was there on the part of the Matilda. And it ends up with Akao's team getting a win. For the fight, he has 1,825 damage and 6 kills. 69 of 136 shooting, that's 51%. He had 975 spotting damage with 4 spots. Because he was firing some APCR, he lost 24,306 credits, 23 points of base defense, and XP-wise, he got 2,256 points. He survived the battle, got high caliber, patrol duty, and Top Gun battle hero medals, and also added in duelist, fire for effect, and bruiser mini medals, and that gives him a battle score of 2,341, which currently has him in 3rd place in the Luchs list. You saw in the beginning he ran up the middle road, set up in a nice little bush right here that smaller scouts can use and watch south. It let him get some early damage and some early spotting damage as he was assisted by his team. Then he tried to slowly penetrate farther south, but as he did so, the farther south he moved, the more his defense to the east lost, and the enemy started a nice attack up here, and that forced Akao to back out because there were too many tanks down here for him just to walk through, and the longer he took down here, the more they were losing territory to the north. He was going to end up surrounded and he recognized that and moved back toward Cap to help shore up the northern flank before he ended up in a position that he was going to die in. And from there, it's just a matter of trying to find tanks where he can isolate himself in a one-on-one. He didn't have a lot of help nearby. He did have the T9 or the Type 95 shooting in from this angle that helped him out on some, where he would provide most of the damage, and then the heavy finished him off. But for a large part, the enemy was spread out, and he took advantage of that, got himself in positions where he could face much less mobile opponents one-on-one, to where he could pick whether he wanted to fire from distance or move in and get up close and finish them off. And he ended up being able to come in behind the Matilda, with the Matilda focusing all his attention on the Type 95, and finish the guy off with one clip. So very smart, intelligent play. Nothing crazy running all over the map doing this and doing that. Just moved up the middle road, realized he had to turn back, moved back, and then he just made kind of a circle to the east and picked off a tank and opened up the final kill. Be aware of the situations to where you can find yourself one-on-one against a tank that may be stronger than you, but nowhere near as mobile as you, because you can exploit it and use your scout's mobility to take the larger guy out with little fear of receiving fire from the enemy team. Opportunities like this exist in many, many fights if you remain aware to them, and being able to take out a bigger tank is a godsend for your team, because it shifts the balance of the fight. And in this case, it helped them go from being behind by 3 tanks to winning by 3 tanks. Into the Hall of Fame in his Luchs, Akao from the European server. Happy hunting.